Heth versus Reynolds, Chapter 1, Heth takes Herr Ridge. This is the first in a series of 4 videos describing the first morning of the Battle of Gettysburg. Here's a calendar for July 1863. The battle itself occurred July 1 through 3, but on the Sunday before the battle, Union Brigadier General John Buford was in Middletown, Maryland with his cavalry division, and he got his orders to move north into Pennsylvania and, quote, hold Gettysburg at all hazards until supports arrive, unquote. Buford's division passed through Gettysburg on Tuesday and chased away Confederate General Pettigrew's brigade, which was approaching from the west. Buford looked over the area around the town and picked a ridge west of town as a good spot to defend. He found Lee's army approaching him from the north, east, and west, with Hill's corps just 9 miles away to the west. See this map, which shows where things stood on Tuesday night, June 30, the night before the battle started. I've marked where each of the Confederate divisions in General Lee's army was located. A.P. Hill's 3 divisions are in black. They're closer to Gettysburg, with Heth's division closest of all. Ewell's corps is in red. You see they have a clear shot coming in from the north and east. Then Longstreet's corps is in blue, and they're stacked up to the west waiting for the road to clear. And won't that be a problem on the second day? The Union Army was divided into 7 different corps, marked by Roman numerals in blue. See the closest corps? That's the 1st Corps, commanded by Major General John Reynolds. General Buford's orders said hold on until supports arrive. Buford was counting on General Reynolds and the 1st Corps to come and relieve his division. Buford was a cavalry commander. Reconnaissance was one of his specialties. When his division arrived, he knew generally where all of the main Confederate forces were located, and he sent that information to General Reynolds and to General Meade, the new commander of the Army of the Potomac. See here where the 2 brigades in Buford's division might have camped Tuesday night before the battle. That night, Tuesday, June 30, Confederate General Heth, who's one of Hill's division commanders, was told that there was a large force of cavalry in Gettysburg. That'd be Buford, but refused to believe it. General Pettigrew, also one of Hill's commanders, had a conversation with A.P. Hill, the corps commander, and General Heth, trying to convince them that there was cavalry in Gettysburg, regular Federal cavalry, but they wouldn't believe him. Heth was ordered to push into Gettysburg the next day and investigate, quote, to ascertain what force was at Gettysburg, and if he found infantry opposed to him, to report the fact immediately, without forcing an engagement, unquote. Buford expected a battle the next day. He warned his officers that the fight the next day might begin before the infantry had come up, and said if they could hold the position, they would do well. Eric Wittenberg, in his book, The Devil's to Pay, John Buford at Gettysburg, said, the Buford's division spent the night ready for action with half of their horses bridled at all times, and the men were on a rotation of 2 hours on and 4 hours off. That morning, Buford had pickets surrounding Gettysburg to the north, east, and west. And then between 5 and 6 a.m., fighting broke out at the Cobean farm, here, between Buford's pickets and Confederate cavalry, probably leading Ewell's corps as they approached Gettysburg. Buford didn't react. Then around 7:30, Confederate General Heth's division, marching toward town, ran into Buford's pickets to the west on Chambersburg Pike. Buford saw that the report from the north was not an immediate threat, just a probe, but the column, Heth's column, approaching on Chambersburg Pike, that was a real threat. So the race was on. Buford was holding on to a ridge west of town, while Heth's Confederate infantry push him off before the Union Army can get there. Let's start the animation. Reinforcements were sent to the picket lines facing the Confederate infantry, and Buford's division deployed in a battle line on McPherson Ridge. The Union cavalry were outnumbered by Heth's infantry. By how much depends on what you count. But in addition to holding off Heth, Buford also had to keep up a picket screen, watching for General Ewell's corps, which was approaching from the north and east. Plus, his men would be fighting Heth as dismounted infantry, which meant that for every 4 men, 1 was sent back to hold on to the horses in the rear. But Buford's cavalry had advantages. Buford knew that Heth didn't have cavalry, so he'd be cautious in his approach. Buford knew he could exploit that by acting like a bigger force than he was, so he spread his 3 artillery batteries out along the ridge to seem like a larger force, and his skirmishers were told to hold on to each position as long as they could. His troopers had breech-loading rifles that gave them a rate of fire double that of the infantry's muzzle loaders. Plus, always in Buford's back pocket, the absolute worst case, he would have been able to mount up at a moment's notice and escape if seriously threatened. By the way, the icons you see here on the map, the rectangles are regiments, the spiky icons are artillery batteries, and the dotted lines are skirmish lines. Gray and black for Confederate, blue for Union. So now the front of Heth's column reached Herr Ridge, which Buford's boys fought hard to hold on to. Heth saw Buford's battle line on the next ridge to his front, and then and there decided to deploy the artillery battalion and the 2 brigades at the front of the division. Heth probably fell into Buford's trap. He had spent 90 minutes traveling from Marsh Creek to Herr Ridge, and this is about 1.5 miles. At normal marching speed, this should take 37 minutes, so Heth's infantry is traveling a bit less than half the normal speed. In other words, at the current speed, they've already lost more than 50 minutes. Deploying, changing from a column on the road to a line of battle spread out in the fields on either side, that takes 30 minutes just on its own. And when Heth's infantry were deployed in line of battle, they were then probably slower and less maneuverable. On the one hand, Eric Wittenberg said Heth deploying was exactly what Buford needed. On the other hand, David Martin, in his book, Gettysburg, July 1, said that once General Heth saw Buford's battle line on McPherson Ridge, he had no choice except to form his own battle line. Buford's strategy is explained by Wittenberg as a covering force action, trading time for space, where he allows the main forces time to come up and take over. Buford planned to trade the 3 ridge lines, Herr, McPherson, and Seminary, for the time needed to allow Reynolds and his troops to come up. Meanwhile, to the south, starting about 8 a.m., the Union First Corps, commanded by General Reynolds, was on the road coming north. General Reynolds would be the senior Union commander on the scene. He rode ahead, began seeing refugees heading south out of town, and then a messenger from Buford telling Reynolds that the enemy was advancing on Gettysburg, and General Buford was sharply engaged. Reynolds rode through Gettysburg and met with Buford on McPherson Ridge, just about the time that the lead elements of Confederate Heth's division were deploying on Herr Ridge, as you see here, a battalion of artillery followed by the first 2 of Heth's 4 infantry brigades, and that would be Archer's brigades and Davis's brigade. At that time, it might have been about 9:15 a.m. Confederate General Heth was deploying on Herr Ridge, while Union Generals Buford and Reynolds were meeting on McPherson Ridge, and the first 2 brigades in the Union First Corps were on Emmitsburg Road, probably passing the peach orchard. This was Wadsworth's division, 2 infantry brigades and an artillery battery. There were more coming, but only Wadsworth is close enough to help. They could probably hear Buford's artillery and the skirmishers exchanging fire, and they knew they'd probably be joining in a fight. But would they get there before Heth pushed Buford's cavalry off McPherson Ridge? See Chapter 2.